Welcome back, everyone. I think we are ready to invite our next speaker. Welcome, Ankit.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear us well?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's great to have you. Where are you joining
Thank
us
you.
from today?
So I'm joining from India. In India, there is a city called Samastipur in the state of Bihar. So I'm joining from there.
Wow, I think you are the first speaker from that area I have talked with before.
Yeah, yeah, I have seen there are few speakers from other areas of India, but in my region,
Yes.
I am the only person.
Yes. And so what, can you please introduce yourself? Like, what do you do and what are your focus areas in AI?
I am currently working as a front-end engineer with Cisco India, and I am primarily working as a UI engineer with Angular framework. And at the same time, I am also a community contributor. I write articles and blogs at multiple platforms on multiple topics such as Blazor, Angular, AI capabilities, and stuff. So I have tried Azure Cognitive Services in detail. I have tried with Vision Service. I have tried the I have tried the translation service, which we are going to talk about today. And I've also written multiple articles on using them with Angular and Blazor frontend. So apart from this, I am also a active contributor to the developer community. I am a Microsoft MVP, and I also a Google developer expert for Angular.
Wow, that is
Mouthful.
yeah.
Well, I think the translation service is going to be a nice addition on top of our previous session where we talked about the speech services. So I think take it away. Looking forward to your session.
Have fun.
Yeah, thank you. Can I share my screen?
Of course.
Okay. I believe you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, let me start the talk. Hello everyone and welcome to my talk. Today we are going to learn about how to create a multi-language translator using Blazor and Azure Cognitive Services. So before we begin, let me introduce myself. I am a software engineer at Cisco System. I am an author, a speaker, and a community contributor. I am a Google developer expert for Angular and a Microsoft MVP for developer technologies. I also write blogs at my blog, ankisharmablogs.com. You can connect me via Twitter and LinkedIn. I would be happy to discuss on any topic related to front-end or development in general. So what are we going to build today? We are going to create a multi-language translator using Blazor Server and Azure Translator Cognitive Services. So Blazor provides us with a different hosting model. We are going to use the Blazor Server hosting model for that. And multi-language translator means it is going to translate the text from any language 1 to language 2. And the user can decide in which language they want to translate to. So the app will accept the text to translate and the target language as the input, and it will return the translated text and the detected language of the input text as the output. So if you don't know what language you want to translate to, the API will also return you the language it detects. So you will get the language of the source text which you are supplying to. And we are going to support translation across more than 100 languages. So let us understand what are Azure Cognitive Services. Azure Cognitive Services are cloud-based AI services with REST APIs and client library SDKs available, which help us to build cognitive intelligence into our application. It allows us to add cognitive features to our application without having AI or data science skills. So since it's just a simple REST API call, so you do not need to have in-depth understanding of AI or data science domain. So anybody can use it. So it is very easy to use and easy to implement on any with any UI library. So Azure Cognitive Services contains various AI services which enables us to build cognitive solutions which can see, hear, speak, understand, and even make decisions. So the cognitive services are categorized into four major groups. The first group is vision, which contains 3 API services. Then we have speech, which contains 1 API service. Then we have language, which contains 4 API services. And then finally, we have decision category, which contains 3 API services. So we are going to talk about Azure Translator Service, which we are going to use today for our demo. Azure Translator Service is a cloud-based neural machine translation, which allows us to do real-time text and document translation. It is a part of language group of the Azure Cognitive Services. So in the previous slide, we discussed there are 4 categories. So the Azure Translator Service belong to the language group of out of those 4 categories. It is very easy to integrate with the application, the simple REST API call, and this is the case with all the cognitive service. And that is the beauty of using cognitive service. Everything is encapsulated from you, and you do not know what is happening behind the scenes. You just have to make an REST API call and pass your inputs, and it will give you the output in a required format, and then you can use it into your application. It can be used with any operating system, so there is no dependency on operating systems such as Windows, Mac, Linux, or any other operating system. Let us learn more about Azure Translator Service. The Translator Service supports following features. The first of them is text translation. It allows us to execute text translation between supported source and target languages in real time. As of today, text translation support almost 100 languages for the translation. Then we have document translation. It allows us to translate batch and complex file while preserving the structure and format of the original document. So if you have any documents such as in a PDF format or in a Word format, you can use document translation to translate those. Then finally, we have the custom translator. It allows us to build customized models to translate domain and industry specific language, terminology, and styles. So that is all about the theoretical part of the talk. Let's move on to some demo and let's see some code. So before we start our application creation, we should understand the prerequisites for this. So first of all, we need to install Visual Studio 2022. And while installing the Visual Studio, please make sure that you have selected the ASP.NET and web development workload. Since we are going to create a Blazor application, hence this is required. Use the Azure Cognitive Service, so you need to have an Azure subscription account, and you can create a free Azure subscription account at azure.microsoft.com. Okay, let's move to Visual Studio and see the code in action. So currently I'm sharing my Visual Studio. Here we have I have already created a Blazor application, and I have already written a written some services. But before going through this service, we are going to understand how to create this translator cognitive service in Azure portal. So let me open the Azure portal. So currently I have opened the Azure portal, as you can see on the screen. So let me search cognitive services here. So we'll search cognitive services. You can see the search result. Click on this, and then here in the search result page, you can see the list of cognitive service as per the their domain, as per the category. So we have language category, then we have vision, then we have decision, then we have Azure OpenAI. So all the different categories of cognitive services are mentioned over here. Our interest is in the translator service. And as you can see that there is an option to create. Click on this button, and it will take you to the create translator page. Here you have to furnish few details to create the translator service. First of all is you have to create a subscription. So I have created my subscription name. Then you have to create a resource group. I am going to select the existing resource group. You can also click on the create new and create a new resource group. Then we have a region. Ideally, it is good you select the region which is closer to your area, so that the API calls will be faster. So I am staying in India, so I'm going to select Central India over here. And then we have to provide the name. The name of the cognitive service should follow these this validation. So it says only alphanumeric characters and hyphens are allowed. The value must be 2 to 64 characters long and cannot start or end with a hyphen. So we are going to use translator demo. Let's see how it happens. So if I click outside, oh, that's good. This, okay, the name is not available or it is used. So we will use something else. Let's say global. It should be available. Yeah, this name is available. So that's great. We have the name. So the name must be universally unique. Nobody else should be using the same name for their translator service. Then we have the pricing tier. As you can see, there are different pricing tier. You can select the pricing tier as per your requirement. However, for me, I am going to select the free pricing tier for now. Then we'll click on the review plus create button. In this page, here you can see all the details about your. In this page, here you can see all the details about the data which you have filled in the previous page. Here you can see the resource group name, the reason, the name of the service, the pricing tier, and all the details. If you think everything is good, click on the create button. Once we click on the create button, the deployment for this service will start. So we'll wait for a minute. It will take hardly 1 minute for the deployment to complete. So just wait for a minute. Here you can see the message says deployment is in progress. So the cognitive service is getting created. So we'll wait for a minute for it to get finished. Okay, it is completed and it says your deployment is complete and go to resource. So click on go to resource button. You will be navigated to the details of this translator service page. So here you can see the name, which is global AI demo. And here you can see a menu option which says keys and endpoints. So this is of our interest. So we'll click on this. So we have created the cognitive service resource. Now we want to use this in our application. So to use this, we will be needing the API keys and the endpoints which we want to hit. So here you can see it is showing you 2 keys. You can use any one of them. So there is a copy option. I am going to copy this, and in our application, I have created a local variable subscription key to paste the key. So I'm going to put my key over here. So key I have put. At the same time, we also need to use the reason. So which reason which we have created our application, which was Central India. So there is a copy option also. We'll copy this, and in the location variable, we'll put this. At the same time, you can see that it is giving you the endpoints. For text translator, the endpoint is api.cognitive.microsofttranslator.com. It is a fixed endpoint. Whatever the translator service you create, you will get the same endpoint. The keys and location will change as per your preference, but the text translator and document translator API endpoints will be same. So I have also used, since I'm going to use text translator, not a document translator, so I have already added the API endpoint here. This API endpoint will remain same for every user who is going to use Microsoft Translator Cognitive Service. The subscription key and the location will change as per the user preference. So this is all which we need to do in our Azure portal. So we can successfully close this. Our work is done over here. Now we'll move on to the code. So in the code, I have created a translation service, but before that, let me show you models also. So what we are going to do is we are going to make the API call, and API is going to return the data in a JSON format. So there are 2 options to do that. One is either use var. So var will be like it is not tightly binded to the model, and another option is used to create the model so that it will be tightly binded. So I prefer to use model instead of var, so that I can easily see what are the properties which we have and what are the values returned from the JSON. So here we have created a translation model which contains the text and to. So text means the text which you want to translate to, and the to refer to the language where you want to translate to. Then we have language details. It will have 3 fields: name, native name, and dir. Dir stands for direction. So there are few language, for example, English, which is from left to right. Then there are few languages like Arabic and Urdu, which is from right to left. So this direction will show you this particular variable will tell the details of the direction of the language. Similarly, we have the detected language, which will contain the name of the language and the score. The score refer to the probability of which the cognitive service has the confidence. So for example, if it is like closer to 1, which means the detected language is as close to the original language. So the cognitive service has higher confidence in the result. If it is closer to 0, it means that the cognitive service has very less confidence on the score. So that is how we have created the model. So let me close this and then we'll go to the service. In the service, we have created 3 variables, which we have already discussed. So let us start at the bottom. What are the functions which we have? So first of all, we have get available languages function. So how we are going to use this application is that in the UI, we are going to see a drop-down list. The drop-down list will tell you the list of all the available language for the translation. So to populate that drop-down list, we will be needing this function. So we have the string endpoint. This particular endpoint will return the list of all the languages which is supported by the Microsoft Translate Text Cognitive Service. So we are going to, we have created a HTTP client and we have made a call to this particular endpoint, and we get this particular result as a string. Then we have deserialized it to our type, which is available language type. So it will return, the available language will return 2 values. One, it will return a dictionary of type string and language details. So that is how we can get the list of all the available language. Then we have a translate text function. The translate text function will accept a string of type request URI, where we want to make the request, and the input text which we want to translate. Again, here we have created a HTTP client, and this particular function is used to translate the text. So there are 2 API call happening. This get available language is calling a different API endpoint to fetch the list of available languages. However, this translate text function is calling a different API endpoint, which is our this API endpoint, the cognitive service Microsoft Translate.com, to translate the text which we pass. And here again, we have created a HTTP client, and then we are making the call. Important point to note here are the headers. So we have added 2 headers. One is for the key, since we are passing the subscription key, and then another is for the reason. So these particular headers will distinguish one call from another, and it will also map to your particular service. So since you are going to pass your own subscription key and your own location for the cognitive service resource which we have created, that is why it will bind to your own cognitive service instance. And then we get the response. If the response has success status code, we will return it as a string to the calling function. And then we have a public function get translation. This public function will be called by our Blazor UI, and here we are passing the text to translate and the target language. And here we have created the root. So we have added the target language where we want to translate to, and then we have created the request URI, which will contain the base endpoint and the final root. And then we'll call the translate text function, and then we will return this result to the UI. So that is how we have defined our services. Now let us move to the UI part. In the UI, I have created one component called translator. This is the base class for the translator component. It will contain all the logic part. So as soon as the app is initialized, the on-initialized lifecycle hook will be called, and inside this, we are going to get the list of all the available language, and by calling the get available language service function. And then we have also created a select language. So as I mentioned that in the UI, we are going to have a drop down which will give us the list of all the available language. So when we click on that drop down, this particular function will be invoked, and we are going to select the we are going to set the property output language to the selected language. And then if the output language is not empty, then in the translate function, we are going to invoke the API endpoint get translation, and will pass the input text and the output language. we have provided a button in the UI. So if you look at the template part, in the template, there is a form. First of all, there is a select. This select will contain the list of all the language available. So here we are using a for each loop and we are iterating through the list of languages, and then we are showing it over here. This will contains almost 100 languages. All those are supported by the Microsoft Translate Text Cognitive Service. And then we have a button. The button will call the translate function. So as soon as I click on the translate button, this function will be called and it will invoke the service endpoint. And if the results are not null, we will set the output text and the input language as well. If the results are null, for example, if you are trying to send something which is not allowed by the Microsoft Translate service, or you are trying to hit a API endpoint which does not exist, sometimes the API keys are wrong, or if you face any kind of error, the backend will throw the error. And if backend throws the error, the translation variable will be null, and then we are going to see, we are going to show an error message on the screen like this. So this is all about the code. Let me run this code and show the things in action so that you will understand in a better way. So I have run the application. It will be launched. Okay, so the app is running. Here you can see there is a translator nav link. I have clicked on this. So here, as you can see the UI. So this is the select input language. You can select or you cannot select. This is a optional field. However, it says enter text to translate. So let's say I will translate how are you? Simple, a simple statement. Now target language. So here is the list of all the target language, and this particular drop down is being populated here in the on initialize async lifecycle hook. Here we are fetching the list of all the available language, and then in the UI, using this for each loop, we are iterating over that particular list of language, and then we are binding it to the drop down list. So target language, let us start with Arabic, and we click on the translate button. As soon as we click on the translate button, you can see that this particular translation is there. Well, I don't understand Arabic, but I hope this translation is correct. How it works is when we click on the translate button, this translate function is invoked. What is happening inside this translate function? It will check if output language is not empty. If output language is not null, it will call our get translation function, and then it will return the result. If it is not null, we are going to set the output text and the input language as well. Now here you can see input language is also set, which says English. If you remember, we have not set the input language initially. Now what I'm going to do is I will try with some other language. So let's say German. So in the German, you can see it is getting translated, let's say some other language. So out of this, you can select anything. Let's say this Thai. So this is how it is coming. Now, I want to do something in a different manner. So let's say I go to Danish language. I get this. I will copy this since I don't understand Danish. I will copy this. I will paste it over here. And then I will select English language from here. Where is English? Where is English? Here. Now, important point to note here is this is showing as English because the previous text was in English. As soon as I click on the translate button, this will update with the source language, and this will also change the text to English. So click on the translate button. Here you can see that it is showing Norwegian, and it is saying how it is going. So maybe this is how the translation is working. So you can see that it is not 100% correct. The reason is there are multiple languages which has some overlap, and sometimes the translation service is not able to distinguish between different dialects. So that is how it is not working 100%. It does not work 100% correct every time, and that is why as I discussed about the confidence score earlier, so that is why we get a different confidence score for different translation service. So let's try with something else. Let's try Azure is awesome. Azure is awesome. And if I click on translate, sorry, it is English. Let me check to some other language. Let's say Czech. So it is saying Azure is a something. So Azure is a proper noun, so it is not getting translated, and other parts are getting translated. So let's say some other language for now. Let's say Marathi. Here also it get translated. Some other language, Ukrainian. It also, okay, Ukrainian is similar to English. Well, I was not aware of that. So that is how. So I understand. I believe you understand the gist over here. So the best part about this application is that everything is happening on the UI side, and you do not have to reload the page, refresh the page, and you can do the translation in real time. You type the text, select the target language, click on the translate button. The API call will happen to your translate cognitive service, and you will get the result over here, and it will also detect your source language. So that is all about the application. Let me close this, and before we close this talk, let me share one important screen with all of you. Here are the resources for this particular talk. This repository is already available on the GitHub, and I have also written an article which explain everything what we just talked in this session. It will explain you how to create this application, how to create resources on Azure portal, and all the steps are mentioned in this particular article. And also, if you want to explore more about Blazor, you can also take my Blazor Mastery course. And finally, you can read more about me and my blogs on my personal blog, that is ankitsharmablogs.com. So I hope this session is useful for you. Thank you for joining, and thank you.
A lot, Ankit. It was a great talk. It was really exciting to see that all the code eventually becomes into this really nice graphical view, and yeah, it was really
Yes.
nice, and I hope you also enjoyed it.
You were talking about the Blazor Mastery course. That's a course you made yourself?
Yes, I have created that course. It will teach you Blazor end to end. If you are like zero in Blazor, you have never worked with it, you don't know anything about Blazor, then you can take this course, and you will become a master. That's why it's a
That's
mastery
cool.
course.
All right.
Sounds cool.
Cool. Thank you very much, Ankit.
We have a
Yeah,
question
thank you.
from the audience.
We do.
Yes, please.
Yes. So there is a question about, will this replace the traditional natural machine translation or statistical machine translation?
I would not say that it will replace that translation. I would say that it will be they will be working together. See, in any case, you cannot replace the real world translation. So if I will do some translation, it will be like as you know, as real as possible. However, this is a machine supported translation based on the AI. It will never be 100% in near future. Maybe after 10 years or 20 years, nobody knows. But in near future, we are not going to. It is not going to replace anything. It is there to support and assist the existing features.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer and for your session as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest
Thank
of
you.
your
Thank
day.
you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Ankit, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Now, with that, we're going away for a couple of seconds, and then we will talk a little bit more about the quiz. So get ready for some questions.
Hi, my name is Ruth.
Do we switch then?